Good evening, everybody, and welcome into this week's edition of the Milford Informer. As always, I am your host, Tim Coet. We have a lot to present to you this evening, but before we get to our top stories of the week, we have some important information to relay regarding the upcoming election. For the first time ever, Massachusetts residents will have an opportunity to participate in early voting ahead of Election Day. Now, early voting is different from absentee voting, where residents only qualify if they will be away from the city or town they are registered in or have other just cause to be unable to travel to their polling place on Election Day. Early voting is accessible to any and all registered voters who wish to participate. All in-person early voting will take place at Milford Town Hall. Early voting will begin this Monday, October 24th, and will be available for the next 2 weeks. Now listen carefully to the following days and times you can head down to Town Hall to vote. From Monday, October 24th through Friday, October 28th, and then again from Monday, October 31st to Friday, November 4th, early voting will be available at Town Hall from 8:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. Early voting will also be available on Saturday, October 29th from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. This will be the only weekend day in which early voting will be available. You can also request an early voting ballot through the mail. Simply fill out an application and mail it to the town clerk's office at 52 Main Street, room 12. You can find early voting applications at the Secretary of the Commonwealth's website, which is shown on your screen now. And of course, if you choose to participate in early voting, you will no longer vote at the polls on Election Day. For those of you who intend to wait until November 8th to cast your vote, we will run through all of the polling places for all 8 precincts on next week's show. And now let's get to this week's top stories rundown. Tonight, hear from one of Milford High School's hospitality and tourism management students as the class prepares to hold a colorful fundraising event over at Stacy Middle School this weekend. Also tonight, our own Milford TV intern Jake Martin reports on last week's Milford Area Chamber of Commerce sponsored Women's Business Luncheon. And later in sports, hear from Milford football head coach JoeTodd as he discusses the state of the Scarlet Hawks with the playoff deadline fast approaching. This weekend, the Milford High School Hospitality and Tourism Management Program is teaming up with Stacy Middle School to put on a very special and very colorful fundraising event. To find out all of the details, I spoke to a couple of the high school students who are part of the HTM program.
A color run is we're doing a 5K color run, so there's gonna be a route set up where you walk, whichever you're comfortable with, and you run, and there's people out there who throw paint. It's like powdered paint, I guess you could say, and they just throw it at you and you're running and you get all colored up, and the whole point is like at the end when you arrive at the finish line, you're full of color. Like you want to be like the most colorful. You want to be like dirty, I guess. We're gonna have setup in the morning, and then everyone is assigned, like they choose what they want to do. Like I'm in charge of registration, so when you walk in, the first person you're gonna see is me. And then there's people who's in charge of activities, which is like the program. There's a fun run with the little kids. There's people out on the route who's gonna be throwing paint at the runners, which is gonna be exciting. There's people gonna be in charge of crowd control, gonna be speakers, food, raffles. So there's people in charge of everything everywhere. They're gonna be everywhere. There's gonna be raffles where you get to win prizes, but that's for like 18 and up. There's gonna be like little activities set up for kids, so while like the 5K is going on, the little kids are gonna do a fun run, but it's not gonna be a 5K, so it's gonna be little, so once they're done they can do like little activities that's gonna be set up for them. Mrs. Angelini approached the program and asked if we could help out, and we were more than happy to, so that's how it got started. The proceeds are going to Stacy Middle School sports program and the gymnasium technology. So the color run is happening October 22nd at 8 a.m. is registration, and then the kids fun run is at 9. You can register from 8 to 9. The actual 5K color run is gonna be at 9:30, and then people are like gonna take off in like groups, so we're gonna like break them up, and then everything is gonna go from there. We're all excited and looking forward to the 5K color run at Stacy. No matter the weather, we're all gonna be there, so can't wait.
Late last week, the Milford Area Chamber of Commerce held a luncheon geared specifically toward their female business members. The luncheon featured a well-known guest speaker who shared her unique story of perseverance in a male-dominated field. Our own Milford TV intern Jake Martin traveled out on location to provide the following story.
My name is Jake Martin. I'm here with Elizabeth Hopkins. So Elizabeth, what can people expect today when they're listening to you?
Well, you know, I'm actually kind of nervous because this is my first speaking event, and I was just saying that I feel a lot more comfortable kind of in this role than in that role over there. So, you know, the thing that I draw from other women is just hearing how they got where they were, and it's really inspiring for me to be able to hear that everybody has struggles, and that if you stay true to yourself and true to your calling, that you're kind of ushering yourself towards your purpose. So I'm just hoping, if they get anything out of this, that that a little bit of my story they'll be able to take home and persevere in something that they've done.
Are you excited to talk in front of a crowd of people, or are you more nervous?
I am so nervous that I brought my mom for moral
support.
Yeah. But what I think is really important is that women step out of their comfort zone, and especially if they have a platform. You know, Fox 25 is so good to me to allow me to do these speaking engagements, and I just feel like I would be missing an opportunity if I didn't stretch myself in this way. So yeah. I'm excited about it.
So that's great. So even by being here and speaking, you're kind of setting an example by stepping out of your comfort zone and doing something that you've never done before either.
I hope so.
Which is great.
Hope so.
I knew that I had wanted to do this, but I thought to myself, am I enough? And it turns out that it's not just, if we're able to overcome that mental barrier of saying, am I enough, a lot of times we'll be met with an external barrier of someone telling us that we're not enough. When I started in this business, about 15 years ago or so, I was an intern in Philadelphia, and I remember distinctly speaking with a reporter who said, you know, you're probably never going to anchor, and if you do, you're probably not going to be an anchor in a top 10 market, which Boston is. But it turns out that I'm in good company when I'm told that, you know, you're probably not going to make it. So this is Katie Couric. And let me just tell you, I brought these pictures today because frequently when I say to my mom, you know, Katie Couric, I mean, she'll go, now which one is that? And so I figure we'll eliminate that. So this is Katie Couric, and you might remember her from the Today Show, but she was also the first female solo anchor of the CBS Evening News. And so she is so accomplished, and now she's on to other projects, but I believe she was working for CNN when she was first in the business, and she wasn't an on-air personality. But there was some sort of a need, a breaking news situation, where they needed someone to report. So they put Katie Couric in front of a camera for the first time, and she gets done, and she's really excited because this is really what she wants to do. And not 2 minutes after she finished, someone from the news department, a news head, calls down to the producers and they say, never put this woman on the air again because we don't ever want to see her again. That's not the only one. I don't think I need a picture for Oprah, but here she is. When Oprah is, of course, Oprah, but when she first started out in this business, she had a news director. She started out in news, and she had a news director who said to her, listen, you're not going to cut it. And not only that, but you're too sympathetic and you're too empathetic to really make a difference in, or to really carry weight in this industry. And of course, that was her greatest strength, and they couldn't see it at the time. And it's not just, you know, women in this industry, you know, Judi Dench, I was looking up a story about Judi Dench and Lucille Ball and Marilyn Monroe, all of these women who were told, listen, you're not going to cut it. And so it can be very difficult to overcome that kind of external barrier of someone saying, you're not going to make it, and sort of balance this delicate struggle between, you know, drawing what you can from that criticism. So for Katie Couric, maybe she needed to work on her presentation, and rejecting what's not useful to you.
What made you seek out Elizabeth? Like, what kind of caught your eye about her when you were looking at potential speakers?
I personally love her. I think she's great. I love her personality. She's a real go-getter. She's fun, you know, and I just happen to like people like that with a lot of energy.
Laura, who is with the Chamber of Commerce, she had told me about this organization and how there are so many towns that are connecting women leaders together, and I loved that purpose. And she said, you know, I've seen you on the news, I've seen the stuff that you've done, will you come speak? And I said yes right away, and then immediately I thought, what have I done? But like I said, I feel like I'm stretching myself, and I think that's a good thing.
If you are doing business with a bank where your bank doesn't know your unique story and is not there to help you when things get tough, you need to look for another bank.
Charles River Bank is pleased to be the sponsor of this event today, so we're very excited about that.
Is it your first time sponsoring this event?
No, we are a longtime supporter of the Milford Area Chamber of Commerce and the Connecting Women Leaders Group. We actually have some of the officers of our bank that are on the leadership team here, but you know, for an organization that believes in, you know, women, kind of empowering them in the workforce, we're happy to sponsor this, so we do it regularly.
How could people reach out to the Chamber of Commerce to kind of get involved in different ways?
You go on our website. We have all our information, all our events, everything that we do is all on the website, www.milfordchamber.org, and everything is there. You can always call if you want to register for any of the events, or you can email us. It's very easy to get a hold of us. We're right in Milford. You look us up on, Google us, and we're there.
Before we move on with sports, I'd like to thank Jake Martin for putting together that previous news piece. Jake has been interning with us since the beginning of the school year and has already gained a great deal of experience producing original content. If you are a student in the greater Milford area and you're interested in learning more about our internship opportunities, we invite you to contact the studio via phone or email, or come visit us at 138 South Main Street inside Milford Square Plaza. Now on with sports. Last week, the Hawks football team returned to their home field for a special homecoming game on Saturday afternoon. Before the team took to the field, I had an opportunity to conduct a radio interview with head football coach JoeTodd to get his overall thoughts on the team as they stood just 2 weeks away from the start of the MIAA tournament. Here is a portion of that interview courtesy of the Sports Buzz over on WMRC. We are joined by the head coach of the Milford High School varsity football team, Coach JoeTodd. We've been talking now for a little over 10 minutes, and I haven't mentioned Blake Hill's name yet, but I have to bring him up to you now. Looking at what he did in particular last week, 207 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns. It was the second game this season he's been over 200 yards rushing. What has it been like seeing him develop over these years, and in particular what he's doing out on the football field this season?
I just need to correct you there, Tim. It's his actually third game with 200 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns.
I shouldn't underestimate that.
I want to check the records. I've never, like I said, it's his third game with over 200 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. He's also probably one of the best linebackers in the state. Right now we're very fortunate to have a guy like Blake on our team. Do have to mention, we have a great offensive line. Those guys work their tails off, and we do have a great run game because of those guys like Blake, but also because of our offensive line. And Blake's a special talent. He's a guy that probably comes along, once every 10 years, but a guy with that combination of size and speed, 6'1", 220, runs a, 4.5 40. Once he gets in the open field, he's gone. There's not many people that are going to be able to catch him, but at the same time, he can run you over. It's obviously we feel very lucky to have a guy like Blake and to coach him up and to work towards his potential. He's been starting for us since he's a freshman 4 years ago. I remember he was about 155 pounds 4 years ago, back in 2013, and we made a decision, do we want to start this guy? And he was, as a freshman, probably the hardest hitting player on the team. And it's been great to see him work hard in the weight room, get bigger, faster, stronger. He's not just a guy that has got to where he is because of natural talent. He's also probably one of the hardest workers, if not the hardest worker on the team. So it's been great to see him develop, and we definitely look forward to seeing what he's going to continue to do throughout the season.
It's such a tremendous talent, but not to be overlooked, Coach, is the talent all the way around that you have on this team. Defensively, we've seen them step up in some key situations throughout these early weeks of the season, and offensively, you've had some players that have really been able to counterbalance Blake well over the season. Talk about some of the other depth that you have on this team that's been performing so well for you.
Sure. And again, I'll start with the offensive line. A guy like Riley Burns, Ryan Gray, Harrison Bliss, those are kind of the anchors of our offensive line. All seniors, all great leaders for us, all guys that play on both sides of the ball. But if you look at the rest of the guys on offense, we've got Asong Amin-Menseh, who plays fullback, plays linebacker for us, really never comes off the field, tremendous leader for us. Jack Capoletti's been a great receiver for us. And, we're not as much of a throwing team, obviously, this year as we have been in the past. But, Jack's been big for us in some key situations. He's also sacrificed himself as a blocker. Our receivers now this year, and it's really Tony Mobilia, Caden Kelly, Jack Capoletti. It's really those three guys sharing the load at receiver, and they've done a tremendous job blocking for us. Our quarterback, Matt Curran, who's a junior who never played football before he got to high school, and he really didn't even play quarterback. The reason he's playing quarterback, I watched him play catch 2 summers ago, and we didn't have a backup for Zach Lenzette. I said, "You're now a quarterback, Matt." and it wasn't because he had a great arm; it's just because he could throw. And so now he's a guy that he's matured a lot. He's a tremendous worker. He takes this very seriously and wants to be as good as he possibly can be. And Matt Curran's been a great surprise for us. And I probably shouldn't say that he's been a surprise. We didn't expect a lot from him, but he's given us more than what we expected, so that's been great to see. And then, defensively, we've got a ton of guys on defense that are playing hard for us. I would say start with Asong, Blake, Harrison Bliss, Gray, Alex Salamone out at corner, Connor Corbett at safety. We've played the best defense this year that we've played, since I've been here, and that's certainly been great to see. We've had 3 games that were tied at halftime, and all 3 of our wins we've pitched shutouts in the second half. So it's been great to see.
Well, and that's been an interesting trait of your teams. You listed off those players, and a lot of the names were the same on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side, you have some lower numbers overall this year, so you're relying on a lot of guys to play virtually every snap all game long, and yet this is a team that looks like it gets stronger as the game goes on, and you'd think the opposite would be true. So, I mean, to me, that speaks to the preparation, the stamina, the training of this team to be able to be in that position to be strong all the way through the game.
Sure. I mean, this team has worked tremendously hard since January. You look at what kind of it takes to be successful in the sport of football. It's definitely an 11th month out of the year, deal. I mean, we take December off just to rest and be with our families and things like that. But the guys that are really serious about football are in the weight room at 6:30 in the morning, starting in January, 3 days a week, and then we kind of ramp it up in the spring. We've had some hard-working teams in the past, no doubt, but this is pound for pound the hardest working team we've had. We've got some strong guys. We've got guys that are in tremendous shape. Our coaching staff does a great job of conditioning our players and training our players during practice, and our players have responded. We don't have a lot of complaints with how much we run or how much we condition. We lift during the season, and strength conditioning and all that stuff is huge for us, and it's been great to see it all pay off on the field.
It was once again a festive atmosphere at the Milford football field last week as the Scarlet Hawks celebrated a very special homecoming that included representatives from the 1986 and 2006 Super Bowl champion Scarlet Hawks receiving recognition prior to the game and again at halftime. This year's edition of the Hawks could not afford to get sidetracked, however, as they readied themselves for an important division matchup with Sharon in their final home game before the playoffs are decided. Milford won the opening coin toss and elected to receive, looking to get their offense rolling in the first half, something they've struggled doing in previous weeks. Blake Hill would provide the Hawks with an immediate spark, taking the opening handoff 21 yards to put his team at midfield. Hill would tally 45 total yards of offense on the first 3 plays of the game to put Milford in prime position inside the Sharon 30. The Hawks would grind their way all the way down to the Sharon 10 before a bad handoff between Matt Curran and Hill would result in a fumble, and the Eagles were able to recover. As the Sharon offense took the field, the Milford defense would look for a big play to deny the Eagles a chance to seize momentum. Led by their quarterback, Drew Naisuler. He looks to throw on first down. It's over the middle and intercepted by Capoletti. Taking it back now across the 20, down the near sideline, hurdles over a defender, and he is in for the touchdown. Jack Capoletti completing the interception and then going all the way the distance for the pick six. On their next drive, Sharon QB Drew Naisler would look to throw on third down, but the trio of Neil Arquilano, Harrison Bliss, and Tyler Joyce would slice through the Sharon offensive line, and Naisler would be brought down for the sack, forcing the Eagles' punt. From there, it would not be long until Blake Hill would be given the chance to atone for his lost fumble. Back to Blake Hill. Hill up the middle, he hesitates, streaks forward, stays on his feet, and he is in for the touchdown. A 23-yard touchdown run for Blake Hill, and Milford jumps out now to a 13-0 lead with the extra point coming up. Still in the closing seconds of the first quarter, it is Milford on the move inside Sharon territory once again, where Hill takes the toss, hurdles over a would-be tackler, and then spins his way down to the Sharon 6. As the teams flip the field for the second quarter, Milford's drive would stall shy of the goal line, and Sean Lehane would be called upon for the 19-yard field goal try, and his kick would sail through the uprights to push the Milford lead to 17-0. With Sharon back on offense needing a big play to quell the Hawks' momentum, it would be the hard-hitting Milford D that would step into the spotlight. Milford was able to get to the quarterback. He was able to get the throwaway and a completion to allow the Eagles to get a fresh set of downs. Now looking to throw again, and Asong Amin-Menseh comes flying in for the sack. Asong Amin-Menseh looking like Superman as he dove in there, getting to the quarterback, and that is the second sack of the game for the Scarlet Hawks defense. The Hawks would refuse to ease up on the pressure into the late stages of the half. With 2.5 minutes to go, Hill would collect his second rushing TD of the game, this time from 8 yards out. 11 carries, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the first half for Hill, and Milford would carry a 24-0 lead into the locker room. Sharon would come out in the second half with a different look on offense that would quickly yield positive results. Junior Xavier Hackett would take the handoff on 3rd and long, and he would bully his way 30 yards downfield, finally sparking some life into the beleaguered Eagles offense. A few plays later, it was junior Giovanna Lisma who would run straight through the teeth of the Hawks defense and into the open field, where he would cash in a 35-yard touchdown to finally put the Eagles on the scoreboard. Milford would waste no time answering back using their own tandem of running backs. First, it was O'Toole who would strike for 22 yards, setting Milford up at the Sharon 32. Then 2 plays later, it would be Hill stiff-arming his way to his 3rd rushing touchdown of the game and his 14th touchdown of the season. Milford would fail to convert on the PAT, keeping the score at 30-7. Into the fourth quarter now, Sharon would drive down to the Milford 15 before facing a crucial 4th down and 5. Keeping the offense on the field, Naisler takes the snap, he looks to throw, looking towards the end zone, and it is picked off. Intercepted by Tony Mobilia, who now streaks his way up the far sideline, and he is finally wrestled out of bounds as he crosses midfield. Tony Mobilia intercepting that pass at the goal line and taking it more than 50 yards, setting up the Scarlet Hawks offense inside Eagles territory. The Milford defense still had one more big play in them to finish off a stellar afternoon. 5.5 minutes to go, 2nd down and 8. As Naisler will look to throw now, he is in trouble, wrapped up and brought down for the 5th sack of the game. And that is Ryan Gray getting into the backfield, the captain for the Scarlet Hawks, referred to as the captain of the captains by his head coach JoeTodd. Makes the big defensive play. A phenomenal game for the Hawks defense, and another dominating performance from Blake Hill and the running game would send the homecoming crowd home happy. Milford earns their 4th victory of the season as they defeat the Sharon Eagles by a final score of 30-7. The victory over Sharon put Milford in good position heading into the final week before playoff seedings are determined. Entering this week, the Hawks find themselves tied with Whitman-Hanson for 5th place in the Division II South standings, just percentage points behind Stoughton. Now, as we speak, Milford is currently in Stoughton taking on the Black Knights. It is a crucial matchup as the winner will likely be in position to host a first-round playoff game a week from tonight, while the loser will be forced to open their playoff run on the road. Once playoff seedings, matchups, and game times are determined, we will provide all of the information as it relates to the Scarlet Hawks on our Facebook page and on Twitter. We will also show highlights from Milford's Week 7 game and provide a playoff update right here on the Milford Informer next Friday night. And now let's move on to this week's upcoming events. Coming up on Saturday, join St. Mary's and Trinity Episcopal Church as they present a senior fall social. This seasonal gathering will feature lunch service as well as musical entertainment provided by the Greater Milford Community Chorus. The Fall Senior Social will take place this Saturday, October 22nd at St. Mary's Parish Center located at 17 Winter Street from noon to 3 p.m. Attention all Milford residents, coming up this Monday, Milford will be holding its annual Fall Town Meeting. Town officials and town meeting members will get together to discuss the 37 articles that appear on this fall's warrant. As always, town meeting will be held in Upper Town Hall. Town meeting will be held this Monday, October 24th, beginning at 7:30 p.m. And coming up next weekend, Milford will once again be hosting its annual Pumpkin Stroll. Celebrate Halloween with hundreds of illuminated jack-o'-lanterns, costumes, and trick-or-treating. Residents are also invited to create their own jack-o'-lantern, and prizes will be awarded at the end of the night for the scariest, funniest, and most creative pumpkins. The Pumpkin Stroll will take place on Saturday, October 29th at the Lions Club Pavilion at Plains Park from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. If you're dropping off a pumpkin, please bring it to the pavilion between 4:30 and 5:30 p.m. For more information, you can contact event organizer Mike Shane at 508-330-8487. Next week on The Informer, we will recap the Citizens for Milford sponsored Candidates Night, featuring state rep candidates Brian Murray and Sandra Biagetti. We will also highlight some of the main discussion points from Monday's town meeting. Once again, we thank you very much for tuning in. From all of us here at Milford TV, this is Tim Coet saying have a great week. So long, everybody.